All right. Well, it's great to be together again. If this is your first time with us, my name is Lou. I'm one of the pastors here. I'm so glad you decided to spend this Sunday with us. We are in the middle of a teaching series called Unexpected Christmas. But if you missed last week, don't worry. I'll bring you up to speed. So we started out last week with a little activity, and we'll do the same thing. Does anybody remember this scene right here? Where this scene comes from. All right. If you're watching along online or listening along online, or if you don't know this scene, this is from Home Alone 2, which is the greatest Christmas movie that there is. If you remember this scene, do you remember the way you felt during this scene? This is when Kevin McAllister's mother realizes that she has left her son behind for the second year in a row during the Christmas season. They're in the airport, they're passing the luggage down. It's like, give this to Kevin, give this to Kevin, give this to Kevin. Then Kevin's not here, Kevin's not here, Kevin's not here. Remember that scene? Okay. Then it gets to her, and they're like, Kevin's not here, and then she screams, Kevin. And you feel it. You feel it. Some of you can actually hear her screaming, Kevin, just like looking at her face. You feel the terror in her voice. You feel the regret, the fear. This familiar scene has the ability to bring us right back there to those familiar feelings, right? Okay, here's another one just for fun in case you haven't seen Home Alone. Anybody remember this? All right, so this is from A Christmas Story. This is when Ralphie, over here, the main character, is watching his friend. Anyone know his friend's name? Flick is his friend's name, all right? So Flick gets dared to put his tongue on the flagpole. He does it, and he gets stuck. And then everyone abandons him, like good friends. They go inside and leave him out there at the flagpole. But do you remember, if you remember this familiar scene, do you remember the way you felt as you're watching it unfold, right? Like you could feel the courage that it took to stand up to that triple dog dare and put his tongue to that pole. You feel the conundrum that Ralphie's in when he's like, am I going to go inside because the bell rang, or am I going to stick with my friend? You feel it. The familiar scene has this ability to bring up those familiar feelings. All right, last one. Anyone remember this? All right, so we just watched this past week in my house. This is The Grinch from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. This is right at the end, right? It's really the moment where the Grinch is about to save Christmas. The villain is about to become the hero, right? And the one who wanted to ruin Christmas ends up saving it. But there's like this too. There's a feeling that unfolds in this scene as well. It's a feeling of redemption. It's a feeling of hope. It's the feeling of joy in his transformation, right? These familiar scenes have this ability to stir up within us familiar feelings. So here's another familiar scene. This familiar scene is a depiction of the birth of Jesus. A lot of us see a lot of versions of this scene in different places, maybe out on the front lawn, maybe under the Christmas tree, maybe on some dresser somewhere, but it's a picture of Jesus, Mary, Joseph. There are some magi, there are sometimes some animals. You got little baby Jesus in the manger in the middle, it's a centerpiece. And like those other familiar scenes, there are familiar feelings that accompany this familiar scene. If your story's like mine, the feelings that rose to the surface for me that I felt like I was supposed to feel were feelings of calm, tranquility. There's a feeling of reverence, like silent night where all is calm and all is bright, like everything just wraps up nicely, and now we have a beautiful picture for the bottom of our Christmas tree here, right? But for people in the ancient world that understood the implications behind each element of this scene, the feelings were very, very different from the familiar feelings that you and I feel, right? Their feelings would have been a lot more like the feelings you might have felt in the opening video that we watched just a few minutes ago, right? You've got the Christmas tree falling down. You've got food flying across the living room. You've got a turkey on someone's head, a Nerf dart on the forehead, a sibling showdown over here. There's a fight. It's chaos. There are twists and turns, curveballs, and chaos. For the average person in the ancient world who understood what was happening here in this depiction of the Christmas story, they would have felt the feelings that we feel when we see this back here. Like, what's going on there? How'd that happen? Why did it unfold that way? Who is that? Is this the way that it's supposed to be? It wasn't feelings of all is calm, all is bright, and everything is just right? It was twists, turns, curveballs, and chaos. And so every aspect of this story has something powerful to speak to us. But we have to understand what's actually happening in the Christmas story and what each person and each element of the scene actually represents. This isn't about just looking at the Christmas story in like a different light. It's understanding what's actually unfolding there and how each one of these things can speak to us in a powerful way, like here in 2025. And what's amazing about each one of these elements in the story is that they have the ability to make an impact on us, whether we're people who have been in church and know all the stuff and all the stories and all the verses like forever, or even if you're just kind of dipping your toe in the water and trying to figure out if this is something for you, if you like want to embrace this, there's something powerful that these elements of the Christmas story have to say to us. But we have to understand what's actually going on in this story. And so last week we talked about the magi, these people that really weren't supposed to be in the story, that represent something totally different than from what a lot of us have been told. They represent, if you want to listen to that, you go online, it's on our website, you could dive into the message there. But this week, we're looking at another aspect of this scene, another person specifically in this scene. But before I tell you who it is, I want you to think about this. Have you ever been in a situation where something was overpromised and underdelivered? Ever been there? Right? Like there's a lot of talk leading up to something, but then there was very little on the delivery side of things. Like you ever go to a really fancy restaurant and you read the menu and the description of what you're ordering is just grand and spectacular. All these things on the food that make it sound amazing and maybe you don't even know what they are, right? But then the food comes to the table and it's like chicken nuggets and carrot sticks, right? Like overpromise, underdeliver. Or maybe you're into sports and you're told your team's getting a new player and there's all these hopes like, oh, this is gonna like turn everything around. Like maybe you're a Jets fan. But then like you run into reality and there's really like no delivery on those hopes and dreams. Overpromise, underdeliver. Years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I was working on a project with somebody. It was in a field that I really had no experience in, but the person I was working with like really talked a lot about possibilities and what could be, and I got like really excited about going in the direction that he was talking about. And when it came time to like actually do it, he basically just like didn't show up. And there's this feeling of this could have been so good if it actually was what it was supposed to be or what I was told it was going to be. Have you ever felt that way in the church world? Right? Like maybe you were singing lyrics to a song about something that God was going to do or a way that he was, but it didn't match your experience in everyday life. Or maybe somebody in like my position, or maybe even me, like told you that God could be a source of joy and peace and hope. And that there's this deep, deep concern for you. That God really, really cares about what's going on in your life like right now. But maybe when you like run into reality and the things that are actually happening in your life, there's this feeling like, well, if he cares so much, then where is he? Right? Like, where is he in the midst of my doubt? Where is he in my struggle? Where is he in my secret battle that I don't want everybody to know about? Where is he as my marriage is falling apart? Where is he as I deal with the diagnosis of someone that I love so much and the decline of their health? Where is he as I go through struggles parenting? Where is he as I'm trying to figure out what my future is going to look like and it looks dark? Like, if he cares so much, where is he? The story we're looking at today it's about Mary. And Mary's story perfectly captures the apparent absence of God. That feeling of if he actually cares, then where is he? Where is God when things fall apart? The story is recorded by a guy named Luke, who was a doctor and made it his goal to put together this orderly account of the life of Jesus so it could be preserved and read everywhere for years. And it has been, and we still have it. And he's part of the reason we have the Christmas story. He tells us how things unfold for Mary. You can read it for yourself, but we're going to look at a part of it today. He says, this is in the middle of Luke chapter 1. He says, in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy. Now, like I said, we're jumping into the middle of a story. Elizabeth was a relative of Mary. Mary ended up becoming the mother of Jesus. Elizabeth was someone who's related to her. And there was something special happening in Elizabeth's life, but it's kind of a different story for another time, okay? So, God sent the angel Gabriel, right? This is an angel that often delivers important news to Nazareth, a town in a place called Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. Now, in the ancient world, to be pledged to be married was not just like an engagement. It was about as binding as an actual marriage. It was supposed to feel permanent. And so she's got plans. This is something she would have been dreaming of forever. The idea of being with someone forever and taking her place in the history of her people, of ancient Israel. And so, I mean, you know this if you've been part of a wedding or part of planning a wedding. You know when you got a wedding coming, there are things to plan. You got to decide who to invite, what things are going to look like, what colors you're going to wear. She's got plans. She's going places, right, with Joseph. The virgin's name was Mary, and the angel visits her and says, greetings, like, hello, you who are highly favored. God is in your corner. This is a good thing. The Lord is with you. Let's start off with some words of reassurance, like positive news on the way. Mary, though, was troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. She had never been greeted by an angel before. Now, if you're like me and you're reading this story, you're like, okay, so reading the Bible and there's a story about an angel talking to someone. Like, big whoop, that happens all the time. There's Bible things happening during Bible times. However, that is not what Mary was experiencing. Mary was on the tail end of what people now refer to as the 400 years of silence. Like for 400 years before this, to those ancient religious people, it seemed like God had done nothing, had shown up nowhere and really done nothing. And so, like, to give you some perspective, the United States of America is not even 400 years old, right? So for her, this was like God wasn't doing anything. This wasn't like angels just appearing to people all the time. This was nuts. And so she's troubled and she wonders what's going on here. But she's reassured. The angel says to her, don't be afraid, Mary. You found favor with God. Again, he repeats himself. This is a good thing, Mary. You'll conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He will be great, and will be called Son of the Most High. This is more good news. Like, Mary's thinking wedding, angel's thinking baby. Like, this is really moving along quickly. She's got great plans, and this seems like it's going to be pretty significant, right? The Lord will give him the throne of his father David. Though it seemed like his dad was going to be Joseph, he says his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end. Okay, so don't get lost in all the names there. The idea is that Mary's people, the ancient Jewish people, they were waiting for a hero to come. They had been promised that someone was going to come and make the broken things whole. Somebody was going to come and fix their problems. Was going to be the answer to what they were looking for. And what the angel is saying is, this is the one. He's referencing promises that were in her Bible that she would have known. Like this hero is going to be a descendant of David, as in David and Goliath, like the King David. And so Mary knows the angel's saying the person you've been waiting for is going to be your son. This is good news. But she's got a logistical issue, right? There's already some stuff we know about her. And she asks, she's like, how will this be? Mary asked the angel, since I'm a virgin, right? She's pretty young, but she's taken health class, obviously. She knows some things have to happen. The angel says, this is going to be a God thing. Like the Holy Spirit will come on you and the power of the Most High will overshadow you so that the Holy One to be born will be called the Son of God. The idea is this is going to be a miracle. This is going to be a miracle. It's going to be different. It's like more exciting good news. Wow, like God is really doing something special through this woman. And the angel says, even Elizabeth, remember Elizabeth from before? Your relative is going to have a child in her old age. And she who is said to be unable to conceive, Elizabeth, is in her 6th month. Like there's also something special happening in a different part of your family. Though Elizabeth lived further away, so she wouldn't have known this. And he says, for no word from God will ever fail. Like you can take this to the bank. So Mary replies, I'm the Lord's servant. There's an attitude of willingness here. Sure, whatever. May your word to me be fulfilled. And then the angel left her. She's honored. It says, at that time, Mary got ready and hurried to a town in the hill country of Judea, where she entered Zachariah's home and greeted Elizabeth. She runs off to go visit Elizabeth. Zachariah is Elizabeth's husband. So she runs off to the house. Now I love this. She didn't just run and leave. Luke's first she got ready. She wasn't just gonna leave without getting ready. So she got ready. But then she hurried out to Elizabeth's house. So this is good news, right? There's a lot of honor there in being part of this amazing story. But the question is, why the hurry? Why the rush? She got 9 months. Why did she need to get to Elizabeth's house? For Mary, there would have been a point, though this was something that was so cool and exciting and different, there would have been a point where she runs into reality. Remember, she's pledged to be married to someone. She's already committed to someone. And people aren't going to buy the story that she had an encounter with an angel and now she's miraculously pregnant. This isn't something that just happened. And in the ancient world, this wasn't something that you just rolled with. It wasn't part of society. You didn't have children if you weren't married to someone in the ancient world. It was not okay. And a big part of that was because they valued their lineage. The lineage of Israel was a huge, huge thing. And so for you to be unfaithful to the person you were pledged to was not just betraying that relationship. It was betraying all of your people. And so for her, it was a very real possibility that she could be killed for what she was doing or what people thought she did. And she's got to live with that reality. If she didn't lose her life, she knew she was going to be disowned by her family. In an honor-shame culture like the one she was living in a legalistic culture like the one she was living in, you didn't associate with people who stepped outside the lines. And so she knows she's not going to be able to provide for her family. She's looking at a future of poverty. She knows her husband isn't going to buy the story. And for Mary, this is the moment where she's got to be asking, she's got to be wondering, if he cares so much about me, where is he? If I actually am, God said, favored, if he's in my corner, if he's on my side, where is he? As all this is unfolding. And so she hurries out to Elizabeth because Elizabeth is the only one that's going to be in on this whole operation. It's she's looking for comfort. And so she goes there, she stays there for 3 months. And 3 months later, she comes back home and Joseph sees that she's pregnant. And Joseph, nice guy, we're told, doesn't buy the story. I wouldn't either. He doesn't buy that this is a miracle. And he decides to put an end to the relationship. And now what she's feared was going to happen is happening right in front of her. She's looking at a future of poverty, of struggle, of dishonor, of shame. And she's got to be wondering, like, if God really cares about me, where is he? This is not what she'd think it would look like to be highly favored. Fortunately for her, Joseph wakes up one morning. He has this dream. And in the dream, he's told to take Mary as his wife, like she's telling the truth. And so the two of them, like he does decide to change plans. And they do move forward with plans to be together. But this doesn't clean everything up. It just brings Joseph into her shame. Now it's the two of them who have lost their good standing in the community. At that time, the ruler of the Roman Empire decides to have a census. Like, in essence, what he's doing is counting all of the people in the areas that he's conquered. And so he basically wants to pat himself on the back and see how well he's doing. So because of that, everyone had to go to their hometown. Joseph was from Bethlehem and had to travel from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Now, we don't know, but people who study this believe that Mary may not have had to go with Joseph because they weren't married. But she decides to go with him because she has no one else. She's not going to stay alone in her community where nobody believes her story. And so she travels from Nazareth to Bethlehem, which is a 90-mile journey. It would have been either on foot or maybe Mary was on the back of a donkey. We don't know. But to give you some perspective, that's like walking to the Empire State Building from here and turning around and coming back. That would be about 90 miles. And she's doing that 9 months pregnant. It's a picture of someone who's trying to get away from the social shame that she was living in. And it's not the way she would have thought it would unfold. Like, if God loves me so much, where is he? Why am I going through this? And so they take this journey all the way to Bethlehem. And when they get there, like finally, at the end of their journey, which would have taken days, maybe even weeks, when they get there, they're told there's no room for them. Now, again, this is speculation, but people who study this, they don't know if there actually was no room. Like, was it that people were all coming back to Bethlehem because of the census, so there was no room? Or it could have just as easily been that nobody would make room. Like, in an honor-shame culture, people would not have been quick to take in Joseph with his pregnant girlfriend. And so it's possible that they just weren't accepted back in Bethlehem. And right at that time, like, they cross the finish line, they arrive where they need to go, and it's time to give birth, and they have no place to do it. And so they seek shelter. We don't know where. Could have been in a cave. Could have been in a barn. But they find a place for Mary to give birth. They're alone. There's no family around. There's no one to hold the baby. There's no one to help. There are no doctors. Probably laying on the ground, Joseph delivers this baby. Luke writes that while they were there in Bethlehem, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths, and she placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. A manger. Like, you and I have been introduced to this story in a way that the manger serves perfectly as the centerpiece of the story, right? Like, under the Christmas tree, you've got a little scene. You've got Mary, and then like, bang, right in the middle, there's baby Jesus in the manger. It's like an ancient crib. You know, they didn't have cribs, so they just made a manger. But this is not the idea. A manger was gross. It was a feeding trough. It's what animals ate out of. It was unsanitary. It's not something that people put babies in. But in writing this, Luke is showing us the whole thing by sharing this one thing. It's as if he's saying, like, things got so bad, she gave birth, wrapped him in cloth, and put him in a manger. right? It's not the picture of a silent night where everything is perfect and it all worked out and now we have the nice scene and the centerpiece in our scene. The picture, probably the familiar scene, feels more like this, like two people at the end of themselves, exhausted after giving birth right after a 90-mile journey with no one around, no one to help, and no one to hold the baby. And so at the end, with nothing left, they put the baby in a manger. Like that's where this went. If you're someone who's ever interacted with a newborn baby, maybe you've had a newborn baby yourself, like at what point of exhaustion, at what state of desperation, what kind of emotional place would you need to be in to put your child in something animals eat out of? That's what's in the manger. That's the story of the manger. And you know, like, as all of this is unfolding, it's like, really? Really? If he cares about me so much, where is he? Mary's story invites us to think about our own stories. Is there a manger in your story? Has there been a manger in your story? Maybe for you, Christmas isn't merry and bright. Maybe this Christmas isn't merry and bright. But is there a manger in your story? Mary would not have wanted there to be a manger in her story, I promise. It's not something she would have asked for. It wasn't part of the original declaration when she was told that God was with her and she was highly favored. This is not what she saw coming. It's not what she would have planned. It's not what she would have wanted. And in writing, Luke tells us the whole thing by sharing this one thing. And maybe you've got the same thing in your life. Maybe you've got like one line that tells the whole story. Like maybe for you, the manger in your story is the quiet in your house on Christmas morning. And maybe that one thing tells the whole story of your custody battle. Or maybe the manger in your story is the house you're not going to this Christmas. And that one thing tells the whole story of the loss of the person that you love. Or maybe the manger in your story is the empty seat at the table. It tells the whole story of the decline of their health throughout the last year and the eventual loss of someone in your family. Maybe the manger in your story is it's the baby that's not there. Maybe the manger in your story is the gift that you wanted to put under the Christmas tree that won't be there. And it tells the story of your job loss and the financial struggles that have come with it. Like, it's the thing nobody wants in their story. And for us practically, it's like, really? Like, I go to church, I hear that God loves me, but if he really cares, where is he? Where is God when there are mangers in the story? We're told just a few verses later that Mary has some guests. Like, there are some people that come to visit her after the baby is born. There are these shepherds that are invited to come see the baby. They're invited by these angels out in the field. Now, I like to think maybe they asked Mary first, like, hey, are you ready for guests? You know, we don't know. But here's what happens. It says the angels go out to the field and they say to these shepherds, hey, don't be afraid, right? This isn't a normal thing that happens. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Good news of great joy for all the people. This is how the arrival of Jesus is described. Today in the town of David in Bethlehem, a hero, a savior has been born to you. He's the Messiah, the one you've been waiting for. You and all your people have been waiting for, the Lord. And this will be a sign, right? This is how you'll know when you go looking that God has come through on what he's promised. This is how you'll know the hero has come. This is how you'll know that this story of good news, this message of hope is real. He says, you'll find the baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. That's how you know. He doesn't say like Mary's like 5'6", Joseph is like 5'10", he's gonna be wearing blue, look for the people in the shed. He's like, the story of God coming through for his people, you'll know because there's a manger in the story. He can say that because there will be no other babies in mangers. People didn't do that. But what's so amazing about this here is simply the idea that God knows about the manger in the story. He knew things were going to hit rock bottom. He knew that Mary would reach for a manger when they were looking for a place for the baby. He knew how bad things were going to get. And yet, this is still a story of hope, of God coming through for his people. In the description of God coming through, of good news, of great joy, he acknowledges the manger. He knows that there's a manger in the story. And for me, like the thing that's the kicker in the story is that if you reach the point and you're like, where is God? If he really cares the way that I'm told he cares, where is he when there's a manger in my story? He's literally in the manger in the story. It's him in the manger in the story. It's as if like in the middle of the mess, the message of Mary's story is that when things hit rock bottom, when it seems like, when your circumstances would make it seem like God is the furthest, it's there in that moment that he's the closest. He is in the manger in the story. He's with them. And he's with us in the mangers in our story. Like there are messages, and I've taught them. There are messages that end with like, the point is bad things happen, but God can use those bad things for good in your life. And that is totally true, and I've taught those messages. This is not that message. This is the message that says that sometimes there are gonna be mangers in your story, and they suck, and we don't know why they're there. But God is with you in the manger in your story. He's close to the brokenhearted. He can still be in your corner. He still cares about you, even though everything has fallen apart. He's with you in the manger in the story. And he knew that it was going to be there. We're going to wrap up. I'm going to ask the band to come back up here. But I want to leave you with one last picture of this. About 5 or 6 years ago, my daughter, she's 11 now, when she was probably about 5 years old, one day she was out at the park with my dad. They had walked from my parents' house to the park. When they got there, they were just out playing in a field. And there was this portable light stand that had been wheeled into this park. It was one of those lights that you pull from the back of a truck. So it had this metal base. The metal base had these sharp corners. And my daughter's running out in the field. You probably see where this is going. She runs toward the light. Right as she gets there, she trips. And she hits her head on the corner, and it cuts like right down the side of her forehead, deep. And I wasn't there. It was just my dad and my daughter. He picks her up, and they start running home. He's got to hitchhike to get a ride back to his house. When they get there, my mom was there, and my wife, Allie, was there. Allie, my wife, she doesn't like blood. She passes out as soon as she sees my daughter. Right? Now, Mia, my daughter, she's like, her whole world's falling apart, like right in front of her. Like, what is the deal? Why is mommy on the floor? My mom calls me. She's like, hey, you're going to want to come home. Something happened. So I get there. We take my daughter to the doctor. Make a long story short, the doctor said she's going to need a bunch of stitches, like right down the side of her hairline. He says that he's going to need to take a shot and go into the cut several different times to numb the area. It's not a fatty area, and so he said it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt her a lot, and we need you to hold her head while we numb the area and then stitch it closed. And looking back now, I'm like, was there no one else that worked in this establishment that could hold the head? But I did it. And I know parents have gone through way worse things than this. But for me, this was one of the hardest things that I had to do, be part of, and watch with one of my kids. But what I knew in that moment, it was not the time to try to give her an explanation. It was not the time to talk about being careful. It was not the time to say a lot of things that I could have said. What she needed to know as she was going through something that was extremely painful, that was beyond her understanding, what she needed to know from me, the only thing I could effectively communicate to her in that moment was that I would be with her, that I wasn't going anywhere. Be with her through this pain until it was over. And that's the story of Mary and the manger. Like we don't have a nice, clean answer for why there was a manger there. There's no twist to the story, like there were rare baseball cards in the bottom of the manger and it ended up being really bad. We have no idea. But we know that it was there, and we know that God was at his closest when everything around them made it seem like he was the furthest away. There's a manger in the story, and he's in it. And in spite of that, it's still a story of hope.
Hey, this is Lou. Thanks for listening. I hope that this was helpful for you in some way. So a lot of people don't know this, but Community Church is completely supported by the generous donations of people like you and me. And if you'd like to join that community of financial supporters, you can go to communitychurch.net/give, or you can give anytime on our church app. And so thanks for being part of this community, whether it's locally or from a distance. Thanks for investing in your faith. And thanks for being part of something that's bigger than yourself. Hope to see you soon.